Elena, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really happy that we could finally find a time slot in your very busy life. So can you maybe like introduce yourself a little bit, like what you do, what kind of sport activities you're mostly focused on, and etc.
So my name is Elena, and I currently live in Switzerland. I moved here to work as a medical doctor, and since I moved to Switzerland, I'm very into mountain sports. And first, I started with more mountaineer and climbing, which I changed like 2-3 years ago for trail running, which is like actually in this moment is like my main focus.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can see on your Instagram that I will also like list below if people want to follow all of your adventures, that you're like quite into trail running. I mean, you most of the time you reach like what is it, 100 kilometers a week. So I would say you're like kind of into it. Can you like maybe talk a little bit more like the switch about mountaineering to trail running and etc.?
Well, that's a wild story. So I started climbing and I was doing like quite frequently. But then I was in a 4,000 mountain at the ridge of it, and I fell down. And it was quite of a life-changing accident because I started to fall off the ridge and I was about to have like a 500 meters drop into the nothing, and I couldn't attach myself to anything. And the last moment I could like attach myself with a thumb, which got broken in the accident, but it saved my life, so it was a good trade-off. And then I broke my finger, and it was one of these bands here, little bands here. It's called like a skier thumb actually, and that's like a very very long injury. Like it takes years to properly heal. So I was kind of forced to change my sport. And the doctor told me, and I was like, but I want to do climbing. What can I do? And so like, he's like, you can start running. And at first I was like, oh, running, but that seems boring. I don't want to do that. I started running. And at first I was doing like more road running, which I kind of didn't like. And in some moment, I decided to run in the mountains, which is like the scenery that I really liked. And yes, I started like really, really liking it. Because yeah, it gives you this sense of adventure that you have when you go climbing or mountaineering, and also improves your endurance a lot. So it kind of become my sport, my main sport, and that's what I've mainly been doing the last 2 years.
Yeah, because what do you also like compete in races, or it's just like you go out there for fun, having a good time, and that's it? Or what is your goal with it?
Well, I started like taking part in races last year. Like the first year I went into trail running, I was doing it for myself because I was kind of afraid of races. And I guess everybody has been into that. And then I started like, slowly getting into small races, nothing too wild. I did my first marathon. It was a road marathon. And then it went well. So I started like going into more races. Last year I've been like 2 ultra marathons, like official, but I do like a lot of high mileage by myself. Like maybe I do like more challenge to myself where I do like, a trail running week where I do like several stages and I do like 190 kilometers with 13,000 elevation meters within 6 days. This is like a project I had last year and I did. And I'm more into that, like, getting like that adventure for myself than really, like competing or whatever. Because for me, it's like my hobby is my sport, and I really want to really enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't all have to race. Like sometimes people are only focused on like races without actually losing the touch of the sport itself, which is I think a pity. But you also told me that you are a doctor, so we also know that doctors have quite a busy life. But still you managed to run like 100 kilometer a week. Like, how do you do it? And it also having like a social life. What is your secret to combining it all?
Well, I mean, yeah, like I really work hard, and I work a lot, like especially here in Switzerland, doctors have like very, very crazy working hours. Like officially it's 50 hours a week, but in reality it's like 60, 65. And not only that, but also with really, really irregular schedules. Like for me now, this week I've been working in night shift. Like this night I've been working, and because it was my last night today, I will try not to sleep the whole day and sleep tonight so that my biorhythm kind of gets rescheduled. So yes, I have very chaotic schedules, and I also try to train a lot. So in the end, it's like, you know, a constant struggle to kind of, squeeze your training somewhere in your schedule. And in the end, I mean, weather might not be perfect. Like I also go training, whether it's like minus 10, minus 15 degrees, it's raining, it's snowing, like that doesn't matter, because I mean, in the end, you don't have that opportunity to wait for the perfect weather to go for a run, because otherwise you just have to go for it. Yeah, I mean, like you can see that it's a lot what's going on, because my work is also very stressful. I work like shifts in the emergency room or the intensive care unit, so that's stress, and then you put more stress with lots of training, and you still try to maintain a social life aside for that, and also not lose contact to your not running friends. So maybe you have to do another activities with them. So yeah, my life is like, constant on the line of trying to balance everything, which makes it very interesting, I guess. But yeah, it's like a very hectic way of living.
Yeah, for sure. And because I also had an interview earlier with an Olympian athlete, and he actually told me like the key to doing it all is in your recovery. But as you were saying, like, yeah, you were so active. So how do you manage your recovery?
Well, I guess, I mean, like that's also a struggle, like because of my work, and especially my schedules, you have sleep deprivation. Like this week, yeah, you cannot really recover a lot, sleep that well, because you sleep during the day, and of course you don't recover as well. But I guess my sleep has become very efficient. Like the day I really say today I'm sleeping and I get like 8-9 hours of sleep, I forget to look at my watch, which records like the phases of sleep, and I always get like very good quality sleep. So I guess that this constant sleep deprivation has somehow teach my body to be very efficient with recovery. So whenever I have the chance to sleep, I really, really sleep very well.
It's like you get into a coma and that's it.
It's like a coma. And also, I'm like, I'm very a chill person. Like, I'm not, I don't know, I don't, get irritated at things. I also keep still, and I guess it's also key to recovery, that you don't put mental stress to towards yourself. Like during the day, my heart rate is always super low, and even if I'm worried, like running to a heart attack or whatever emergency, I still stay calm. And I think that's also okay for recovery, not putting more stress on your body than you should.
Yeah, it's also super interesting because as a doctor, like what kind of stress has an impact on your body. So it's also very interesting to talk with someone who also knows that, yeah, rest and recovery and like a low heart rate is also that important for your recovery. But let's dive a little bit more into your training, because you said like you live in Switzerland, you go out during the night in minus, I don't know, like I saw you running during minus, like what was it, like minus 10 in shorts. How do you prepare for that? And then also like with food and with routes, and like how do you know where to go also when it's dark?
Well, I mean, I guess like in Switzerland, it's a paradise for trail runners. Like we are really spoiled here. Like Switzerland has a lot of, hiking routes. and there's like a map of Switzerland with all of the hiking routes. So it's very easy in these maps. You can just, do a little bit of research depending on how the weather conditions are. You can take a look at the webcams, if there's going to be snow, is not snow. So you can design the route you want to do and do every time a different one. And it's whenever you draw it, you can also say, okay, I'm going to do these kilometers and these elevations meters. And then you can export the route to your watch. That's what I always do. Then just follow it. Yeah, when it's dark, it's kind of challenging because it changes a lot. I mean, I'm okay with that, but sometimes it gets challenging. Like last time I was in a ridge and it got dark. And there was like a wind blowing 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. Like the branches were blown up, and that was kind of very special situation where you really have to rely on your own senses of survival or wherever to, get out of there and just get the orientation, not to get lost. But challenging, but I've been doing it for years now, and now it kind of works. You still live a lot of adventures. Like normally, sometimes you find like the path you're supposed to go, it's closed, or there was like a avalanche or whatever, and you're alone and you have to figure out how you're getting out of there. So just there was a adventure to it. And this is also what I love, because this sense of adventure, of living something every time you go out in the mountains.
Yeah.
And it also it kind of brings you together to nature a lot. Like you kind of start feeling how nature works, how weather can change so quickly in the mountains. It's crazy. Like you can go from -15 to be in the sun and it's super hot, and you have to prepare for everything. Regarding food, that I always bring extra food, and I always bring I have a filter water, which is useful, especially in the mountains. Like you always find maybe a river or something you can filter water from. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just have to run for hours and hours without water. That happened to me quite a times, and you survive it. But yeah,
it's
you
not
have to be
nice,
tough.
yeah, it's not nice, but that's what happens in the mountains. You can't really control everything. It's mostly like you get stuff and then you make the best out of it.
Exactly. That's what I love. It's like you have to adapt yourself. It's constantly changing, so it's a challenge. And yeah, you never know what's gonna happen. So that's what I like.
Yeah, I totally get you. I mean, trail is just trail running. It's just the best thing that ever happened to me, actually, because it's the perfect combination of being active, being in nature, the adventure part. It's everything just makes it so special. But what you also said, you're originally from Spain, but then you moved to Switzerland. First of all, which part of Spain? I think it was the coast, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm from the north coast. That's called Asturias. Which is very different to the rest of Spain. We actually do have mountains there. I ironically never been to the mountains in Asturias myself. I started first going to mountains, or it being a thing, when I moved to Switzerland.
Yeah, because what made you switch to Switzerland? Was it because of there were more mountains here, or professional reasons, or a combination?
For professional reasons, when I was studying medicine in Spain, I did 1 year of exchange in Germany, where I learned German. And then I decided that I wanted to do my residency years abroad. When I was one of the pioneers in my university. I think it was the first one. Now it's become a thing, and more people are coming. But when I came, everybody was shocked, because that wasn't a thing. Why would you do that? And I was I want to try something new. My brother was working in Switzerland. I visited him, and I saw the mountains, and first time you see the Alps, it's you get blast, that's you get really, really shocked. I just came here, I came and said okay, I will try, let's see if it works or not, and if it doesn't work, I go back. That was 5 years ago, and now I'm
Look where
here
you
at
are
home here
now.
in Switzerland.
Yeah, you just stayed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great. So everything you've already been telling me is like super interesting, and I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh my God, is she really doing that?" So really, like a lot of respect for like everything you combine, because I know by myself how difficult it is to combine it all. So I really respect for that. If you would have to give one piece of advice, like your best piece of advice or like a life-changing tip you want to share, what would it be?
For trail runners,
Yeah,
or
let's go for trail runners.
so for somebody who's starting with it,
Yeah, or like maybe even more
for instance.
experienced ones, like just one thing that's like, okay, this I really want to share with people. Can be also like a piece of
Mm,
advice.
so for me, it was, I don't know, the piece of advice I would give myself when I started with trail running is like, don't be afraid to be bad at this at first. Like at first, I was always like, because at first I wasn't good at all. I had to walk at some points, and I was like seeing all of these people going super fast, and I was like, okay, I will never be like them. But I somehow continue with that. So at some point, I realized that I'm just focusing on be better myself and not comparing to anybody else. So I think that you should like focus on your own pace. Don't be afraid of races. Don't be afraid of going with another people. Like that's also another thing I learned. Like at first I was afraid, to go with friends because I say, oh yeah, they will be faster than me. And now that I do it in the other point where I go with people who are trying to start it with trail running, I'm super happy that they come with me, and I really don't mind having to wait for them. I'm so happy to showing them this sport. So don't be afraid of that, and just enjoy the sport. Like I think the key is just to really enjoy it and commit to be better than that, regardless of performance or regardless of races. That comes later on, but it shouldn't be the focus.
Yeah, that's actually a great piece of advice that I always give to my own athletes. Like, don't be afraid to start. You can't be all of a sudden like a world champion. And everyone needs to start somehow. Like also like Usain Bolt and Kipchoge, they also started with like, starting to run. So no, great piece of advice. Thank you so much for this chat. I think we still will see each other a lot in the future, and maybe even plan some mountain adventures ourselves. I'm pretty sure that will
Yeah.
happen in the future. So thank you so much again. I will just let you be, and hopefully that you are like able to take a siesta or something. And people follow her on Instagram. She's like a really inspiring profile. I love seeing her stories, and I always think like, wow, she's absolutely crazy.
You have to be a little bit crazy to be in the sport, and you.
That's true.